Shay, Ma'at Hotep. This is The Truth May Hurt, and I'm Raymond Witcher, and I am your host. Um, it's been about 3 weeks since I've made a video. I had some health complications for about a week. I ended up in the hospital for a day or so. Um, I had to get my strength back, and unexpectedly, we had a death in the Witcher family, and my second cousin Ralph, not Ralph, Glenn Witcher, Ralph's brother. You've heard me mention Ralph. He suddenly passed away. So we had some death in the family. But what I wanted to do is come back and give you some brief thoughts. This is going to be a short video. I just haven't been with you in over 3 weeks. I have presentations ready, but I bought a new microphone because I wanted a better quality sound. Okay, and I've spent 2 days trying to get it working right. It's not. So if you're gonna get a microphone, don't get the Yeti. All right, it's too complicated. It's not worth the headache for the money. Okay, so I'm taking this one back tomorrow. I've already ordered another one. It won't be here to Friday. So I wanted to come and give you some brief thoughts, and it all pertains to previous videos that I've presented. So I'm going to share with you one of the most awakening things that has ever happened to me. And it happened at my cousin Glenn's funeral. Glenn Witcher from Camden, New Jersey. I had just gotten out of the hospital, and I was kind of weak, but I was able to make it. But before we go into that, let me mention that right now we've picked up new subscribers. We have 91. We've had 3,000 views, 447 shares, 115 likes. The last 7 days, even though haven't put any new material up for 3 weeks, we've had 38 views in the last 7 days. And I'm saying thank you, because this channel is The Truth May Hurt. So I'm showing things that are going against the grain. I'm showing how, if we look at the Bible comprehensively, it doesn't work. Okay, so I understand that a lot of people are turned off. I understand, and the Christian antivirus is going to tell them to turn me off. That's fine. I understand. I think the average watch time out of the 3,000 views is 15 or 20 minutes. Now that's an average of 3,000 people. That's good. Okay. There are a lot of people that are watching that aren't hitting the subscribe button. So I ask you, if you're watching, please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to grow, and I can only see the growth when I see subscribers. So for those that are the new subscribers, and let me check. I think we're up to almost 500 people on my Facebook channel. Let's take a quick look and see. Okay, we're up to 432. A month ago, we only had 218. So that's growing. All right. So I want to just briefly go over some thoughts, share some things. I'm not going to give you a presentation until I get my new microphone. I want a better quality sound. So I'm going to make this one short. But I want to start with the circle. I want to spend just a little time on the circle in the next slide, because we have some new subscribers. Okay. And what this circle, or what I'm trying to show in this slide, is in this circle. Okay. In this circle is my realm of understanding. Everything that I think and believe I know is within the circumference of this circle. I must realize that there is much more outside my circle and realm of understanding and limited knowledge, so I can learn and expand my realm of consciousness. I can't limit myself to believe I know all that there is to know, based only on my limited realm of understanding. Okay, so instead of getting mad, get smart and prove me wrong. Without your feelings, passions, and emotions, show your evidence and I will show mine. Let's make a deal. Let's take our feelings, passions, and emotions out of this. And let's bring in something that most religions, especially Christianity, don't want you to bring in, which is they don't want you to think. They never taught us how to think. They only taught us how to believe. Okay? Now, my creator did not create me to only be able to say that I believe. You can ask people, do you believe God is real? And people will say, yes, I believe God is real. Well, see, you'll never hear me say that I believe God is real. I might be the only person that, if you just say everybody that believes God is real, raise your hand. My hands will go in my pocket because I know God is real. Okay, so I want to show you that. Now, this slide is directly related to what I experienced this last weekend at my second cousin Glenn's funeral. It wasn't a funeral. I'm not going to call it a funeral because Glenn didn't want a funeral. His memorial service. All right. I had gone through a lot of emotional things because I had been so sick, but I wanted to make Glenn's funeral. It was very important to me because I am the youngest of the grandchildren from my grandparents, Daniel Witcher and Lena Witcher. So all of the brothers of my father, I'm the youngest of all of the grandchildren. We had a beautiful family in South Boston and Danville, Virginia. Every weekend we were together. My Uncle Lawrence and Aunt Naomi moved to Camden. So every summer, 2 weeks, we would be in Camden. So we got to grow together. All of the first cousins. My Uncle Lawrence, he would always bring Faye and Lenora and Augustine and Jerry down to Danville for 2 weeks in the summer. So that's a month. That even my first cousins that were the farthest from me, we always at least had a month. All right. So by me being the youngest grandchild and first cousin, everybody loved me up. I mean, we had a very close, tight, passionate, affectionate first cousin relationship. So Glenn was the second cousin born. I think I may have been about 8 or so when Glenn was born. And then his brother Ralph was born. And then his sister Lisa was born. So it gave me the opportunity to have cousins that I could show the same kind of love that was shown to me. Right. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but I wanted to let you see setting this up so that you can understand what I experienced this weekend. Okay, so to tie this slide in it, you've seen me and heard me mention this slide before, and please, everybody, pause this and read what I'm saying over here. Okay, because we were separated from our spirituality. Okay, which separated us from our ancestors. You cannot convince me, and I will never believe that my mother, my father, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles and cousins that have passed will do me harm. And we've been taught that we need to separate ourselves from the dead and from our ancestors. Okay, well, physically we have been separated, but spiritually we should never be separated. All right, so this circle shows we have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents, 32 great-great-great-grandparents. And if we do this math back 20 generations or 500 years, we will have over 1 million ancestors. That's if we only go back 500 years. Why this is important is If one of these, now, this equation continues back all the way to the first creation. So if you do it all the way back, you have trillions or quadrillions or whatever that number would come up to be, ancestors, that if one of those ancestors all the way back to the beginning was missing, we wouldn't be here. Not in this form, not in this body. So it shows you two things. Number one, you're special because we are here. This is our spiritual existence was converted into a human experience when we were born through our mother and father. Okay, so let no one ever tell you, I don't care how bad things are. I don't care how tough things get. I don't care what you're facing in life's circumstances, addiction, health issues, lost your motivation. These things that bring us down to a lower vibration and level of consciousness to think, I am alone. So if you read over here, one of the biggest contributors in mental illness to people attempting or committing suicide is feeling that they are alone and nobody understands them. It leads to drug addiction, alcohol, all of these things because we have lost our spirituality and our connection with our ancestors. Okay? So we need to rebuild this. Okay? So read over here. I'm not going to spend much time on that. But I'm showing you that when I went to my cousin Glenn's memorial service in Camden, when we pulled in, the car in front of us pulled in and parked. And I backed in at another angle where I'm facing the car that pulled in front of me. And when the man got out of the car, he is one of my younger second cousins. It was Troy, who was the son of my first cousin, Faye, and his father was Charles Golden. Here's the kick. When Troy got out of the car, I guess Troy might be in his 40s now. He might even be 50, I'm not sure. But when Troy got out of the car, I didn't see Troy. I saw his father, Charles. I mean, it was shocking because when he stood out of the car, the young man Troy that I knew at a younger age had converted into the exact image of his father. And I said, wow. Okay, so we go in to the service, and when I walked in, I saw a lot of my second cousin's children, who are my third cousin, that look just like their mother. My third cousin Yuri looked absolutely identical to her mother, Erica. And Erica's mother is sitting at the table, and Erica looked identical to her mother. Okay, and I'm looking around, and every one of my third cousins, I immediately saw my aunts, my uncles. It just shows you that this equation right here, it really shows that death in the concept that we've been taught doesn't exist. Yes, our human existence dies, but our spiritual existence never dies, and our genetics are passed on from each generation to the next generation, which means we never die, even in the human form. Because I'm a collection, and we are a collection of each and every one of these ancestors that came before us. My daughter, I have added my genetics to my daughter and passed on all of the genetics that came before me to my daughter. And I sent a friend a picture of my daughter. She hadn't seen my daughter since she was a little baby. And her first comment back to me was, "You definitely have a twin. Thank you." But she looks just like my sister. She looks like my mother. She's starting to develop to look like her mother. If you could see her first cousin in Jamaica, Shashina, they look alike. So my daughter has it on both sides. She looks like her cousins in Jamaica, and she looks like the Witchers and the Allens here. So this is the link that we have to reestablish, is that when you have a child, you've already been born again. Okay, that's one of the things I wanted to go over. Okay, now I'm gonna touch on a few things, and I'm gonna end this. I just wanted to come back and share that spiritual experience with you that gave me validation that I've already been born again. And when my daughter and my son have children, they're going to be born again, which every ancestor before them will be born again. Okay, a couple of things I'm going to go over. We have to take more charge and stop praying, thinking that that's going to get us out of this. Okay, we need to realize that in America today, only 2.7% all American business are Black owned. Okay, so if we don't have any economic power, we don't have any power, because America is set up on greed. It's set up on the financial power structure. Okay, let me give you an example. The empires are not set up for anybody but the emperors. They're not set up for the people. It doesn't care about how you feel, what you want, what you have, what you don't, because it's not set up for you to have anything. It's set up for the elite. It's set up for the 1%. That's why every empire or world power has only lasted about 250 years on an average. That's what the United States, and I'm showing you these things because we have to tie it into the reality of right now. You're watching the transition in the United States. The power structure is definitely changing, okay? Because that 1% wants to set up an empire. It's for the emperor, not you. This system was already bad enough for Black people. It's getting ready to get a lot worse. Okay, so even now, we only own 2.7% of Black-owned businesses in this country. Now, if we go back to the 60s, what changed? This country has never given us anything. Nothing. Show me, tell me anything that this country has given us. Now, I'm not counting out our determination to be successful and succeed, because that's what we had to do. But they didn't give it to us. Okay? The Montgomery boycott of the city bus, because Rosa Parks couldn't sit. She wouldn't get up out of her chair to give it to a white person. What made that boycott successful? It lasted 18 months, and Black people refused to get on that bus and pay their 10 cents or their 5 cents to ride a bus that I have to sit in the back. So they established, their own little, more like a cab, travel, where they would meet together and cars would come pick them up and take them where they had to go. But for 18 months, we remained committed that we're not going to spend our money with you. And it almost collapsed the economic power and structure and system in Montgomery, Alabama. So they folded and said, okay, well, you can ride anywhere you want to. They didn't do it because they wanted us sitting on the front of the bus. They did it because they were going broke. Okay, so let's keep that in this perspective, that we have to stop thinking that they're going to give us businesses when they're bringing in immigrants from India and other places, Bangladesh and these other places, and right off of the bat, they have a business. They come in and they will give them money that they won't give us. And we've been slaves in this country for 400 years, going on 500 years. And we only have 2.7% Black-owned businesses. I don't have any, well, I have a couple, but they're African business. They're not American Black-owned businesses in my community. So what am I telling you? We need to target nationally these businesses that we know are racist, that we know won't hire us, that we know that they won't give us any opportunity. Collectively, we need to say, well, we're not going to go to McDonald's for the next 3 months. No Black is going to McDonald's. We're going to say no Black is going to Home Depot for 3 months. We'll go to Lowe's. Then turn around and say, we're not going to Lowe's for 3 months. Go to Home Depot. To show them that we do have economic power to affect your lives like you affect ours. You have to do it through money. You have to do it through the power of money and the greed and the lust for more power. Okay? We have to realize that religion is a business. Always has been, always will be. It is the most lucrative business on earth. Okay, but remember something. The truth is for free. It is never sold. And anybody that is trying to put a price tag on the truth has already told you a lie. They've already sold you a lie. Okay? God said, I don't need man's hands to do anything. I created man in the air that he breathes and the breath that he breathes. I don't need man's hands for anything. So if he doesn't need man's hands for anything, he doesn't need money. They're tricking you. Okay. Let's see what else I wanted to touch. Now, this is the truth may hurt. But how much benefit are you getting in believing a lie? Would you rather be stuck in believing a lie or go through the little pain and suffering that you're going to have to go through to accept the truth that I've been lied to? I've been deceived. I've been tricked. I've been manipulated. I've been oppressed all through this. Now, do a search on when did the name Jesus first appear in the Bible. It didn't even appear in the Bible until 1769. Listen, watch. Okay, there could not have been well, first of all, Jesus didn't speak Hebrew, he spoke Aramaic. And there is no J in Hebrew or Aramaic. Okay, but even that being said, there could not have ever been a Jesus or anything else that started with a J. Jerusalem, Jacob, John, James, Jericho, Jacob. It couldn't have been anything that started with a J before. There couldn't have been anything that started with the letter J before the letter J was invented. And it wasn't invented until 1524. Okay? So, unless God has a son that he sent down to save you, is only 1,000, no, it's less than that, 800 years old. Because as I just showed you, Jesus didn't appear in the Bible until 1769. Okay, so we have to accept, we can't ignore all of the, I say objective evidence, I'm talking about things that are either science, records, facts, history. To say, oh, well, I don't believe that because I've never heard that before. Nobody's never told me that before. Well, you know, when people hide things to you, hide things from you, they don't show you where they hid it. But usually they don't bury it that deep. All you have to do is dust off the surface or blow away. And you'll see, oh man, that's the truth. So there couldn't have been a Jesus, a John, a Jacob, a Jericho, or any of these names that started with a J. Biblical names that started with a J in the Bible before there was a J in the 1500s. And you see here that Jesus Christ himself never appeared in the King James Version of the Bible before 1769. So unless God has a son that he sent down to save the world from all of their sins, that died on a cross back 2025 years ago, he didn't exist. And if you read down through here, that they've been changing these names just like they changed our names before they put us on the ship. Okay, before they shipped us off telling us that we're going to save you, the first thing they had to do, what? Change our names. Well, they've been changing it from Haru. They changed the original story of the god, mythical god Haru, who, when the Greeks captured and conquered Egypt, they changed it to Horus, then Osiris, then Zeus, Hercules, all of these. I'm just showing you, okay? So we have to, the main thing is whether you want to wake up or not, take the responsibility to please don't teach this to your children. And here's why. When we die, now right now, my mother, my father, my son, my grandparents, and all of my ancestors back, they're getting their human experience through me. And I'm going to give them the best ride and show that I can. And how I know they're cheering for me is because they don't want to see this generational curse passed on anymore like they passed it on. When they were in their human assignment, they were controlled by fear. Man, you're going to hell. Do you know how dangerous it is going against the Bible? How many times have you heard that? Man, that puts a fear in your head. You're going to hell. Man, let's hear fire and brimstone. This never, ever was a faith-based system. This has always been a fear-based system. So I went and pulled this back up. I showed it on a previous presentation, but I want you to understand the kind of control Christianity had and still has on the world. Okay, so if you do a search on map of countries under European control, this doesn't have a date on it. I wish I could have found the one that had the date on it. But what this is showing is after from the year 500 AD for the next 1,000 years, the elite, those that wanted empires, were going around the world forcing Christianity on the world. Okay, I have it in a presentation, but this map, I wanted to bring it up because for 1,000 years, from 500 AD to the 1500s, is what we were taught in school as the Dark Age. Okay, it wasn't because it was dark or the sun didn't shine. It was Dark Age for the Europeans, for all of this area here. All of this area here. Because this is when Catholic Church was having their crusades. This is when they were going around doing their purification. They were killing anybody and everybody that didn't accept their dogma and doctrine that they created in the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. All right. So for 1,000 years, all of this was concentrated around here. Now, I did presentations where I showed all of this on a timeline. If you look at it on a timeline, you'll see it as crystal clear. So for 1,000 years, all they were doing was going around killing white people. They were killing each other, burning them on the stakes, pulling them apart, torturing them for heresy if you didn't accept Jesus Christ. Well, it wasn't the name Jesus Christ then, because Jesus didn't come in, and as I showed you, until 1746. Okay, so what happened was, then in, I think it's 1453, we learn in school about the Renaissance, the new beginning, the start of the new world. Okay, that was the Renaissance. And if you look up this man named Gutenberg, let me show you. Here we go. I like to show you things on the timeline, because when we look at it on the timeline, man, all these dots go together. Okay, so as I mentioned in, I think it's 1453. Let me do. Okay, so there was the Dark Ages, and you can pull up this. You can pull up this. It's on the history. And if you do a search on what year was the Renaissance period, pull this up and take a look at it. Now, as I said, from like 14, this tells you everything in here too. It tells you from the Dark Ages. Remember I told you the Dark Ages started around the year 500 AD. Well, it says 1476 AD, the beginning of the 14th century. Europeans made few advances in science and art. This was called the Dark Ages. This was the time when the Catholic Church had created all of their doctrine in the Council of Nicaea, the Council of Ephesus, the Council of Constantinople, and the Council of Chalcedon. When they wrote all of these books to create the story of Jesus Christ as the Son of God, the Savior, died on the cross, they wrote all of these books from 325 AD, so for like a couple of hundred years. They wrote all these books. Then in the year 500 AD, they turned the lights out. They say this is the Dark Age. This is when they started burning books. This is when no people were allowed to own these Bibles. Only the bishops could have them, and they would read it to them, because they would tell the people, you can't understand God. Okay, that was the Dark Ages, from darkness to light, the Renaissance. So this is the awakening, the Renaissance. So read up about these things so that you can see that I'm not feeding you anything that I haven't studied and that I'm not talking about. So we were talking about the Gutenberg press. So the Renaissance started in 1453. 3 years before that, this man named Gutenberg, this German man named Gutenberg, he invented the Gutenberg press. The first book that he printed was the Gutenberg Bible. Okay, Gutenberg Bible. And if you come here, the Gutenberg Bible, you can read all about it. And it says the Gutenberg Bible is an edition of the Latin Vulgate printed in the 1450s. And it tells you. So here's what they did. For 1,000 years, they were creating, changing, manipulating, adding to, subtracting, all of these things that they printed in the Gutenberg Bible as the first real Bible that could be issued to people to read. And it was printed at the beginning of the Renaissance. Okay? So if you, I don't need to pull these up because you can follow these. We know. Let's go back. We know that King James, so this was in the 1500s. The Gutenberg Bible comes out. Then King James comes along and he appoints, was it 47 scholars to retranslate. The Gutenberg was the first, then they had several. There have been so many retranslations and different versions of this Bible that you can't even keep up with them. But King James, if you do study King James, one of the reasons he said he retranslated the Bible is because he felt that God had more authority over his kingdom than he had. So things were added to the King James Version, such as honor the king. There was no scripture that ever said honor the king until the King James First Bible. So here King James comes along in 1603, and he appointed these scholars to retranslate a new English version of the Bible, his version. His version was to benefit him. Remember, he's the emperor, okay? And the empire is set up to benefit the emperor, okay? So 1603, so for 8 years, they wrote and retranslated this Bible that was released in 1611. 1618, King James opened the Royal African Company and made it law that only his ships could transport slaves during the transatlantic slave trade. Opening and starting the transatlantic slave trade was started by King James and the Catholic Church. It's a business. Okay, 1618, he started the Royal African Company. So 7 years after he released the Bible, he started a company, him and the Catholic Church, transport slaves. The first slave ship to go into Africa was named Jesus of Lubbock, the Good Ship. Then a year later, King James and the Catholic Church made black people no longer indentured service. You're going to be slaves from the day you're born to the day you die, and you're going to work every day. Okay? Through the doctrine that they wrote in the King James Bible, that black people, Negroes have the curse of Ham. And that used to be in the King James Version of the Bible. It said that Negroes will have the curse of Ham. They will have big noses, big lips, dark skin, kinky hair, large appendages or phalluses, and that they love to lie. I mean, it was in there. It's still in the Mormon Bible. They haven't taken it out of the Mormon Bible. Okay, so if you look at these things and you come away and just contain your fear. I'm not going to tell you don't have fear, but don't have fear of things that a man gave you to control you. Okay, so when we're talking about the Renaissance, we were talking about the Dark Ages from 500 AD to like 1500 when the Renaissance started. But what I want to show you on this map, I have it on the previous presentation. I want to show you after they did their thing and printed their Bible on the Gutenberg press and all of this, the King James Version of the Bible. Look at this map. Countries that have been under European control. Let's go down to the bottom one to show you that the only three places on Earth that weren't colonized. You see over here, Japan, Korea, and Thailand. All of the United States, Greenland, South America, Africa, Australia, India, this looks like, I don't know which part of Europe it is. It must be Soviet Union or somewhere. But all of them were controlled, colonized, or controlled by Europe. Okay? This is partially controlled by Europe. This here. That's China. They had the influences on these places in yellow. And only these three little dots. Japan, that's Korea, and this is Thailand. And the only reason those places were never colonized is because the British needed those areas for control. Let me see if I can pull that up. 1 second. I don't want to make this too long. I wanted a short video, but they never are short because there's always things that I need to tie in. Hold on 1 second. I can't really find what I wanted to pull up, but what I'm going to conclude with, you can see the expansion that Christianity had on the world. Okay, the only religions that did this is Christianity and Islam and Judaism. The three Abrahamic faiths went crazy trying to control the world. And they still are today. And if you think that they have given up that ambition, they haven't. Okay, so please wake up, teach your children, because when we die, we're going to be so miserable having that human experience that your children, your great-grandchildren, your grandchildren, your great-great-great-great-grandchildren are going to be going through, because we didn't do anything about it other than pray and saying Jesus is going to fix it. Jesus never existed. If this Bible was being taught the right way, which is this mythical, you would understand that Jesus never existed, that the teaching of Jesus are my responsibility to do. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going up against the church. I'm going up against Judaism. I'm going up against Islam. Who did Jesus go up against? Didn't he go up against the Pharisees, those that govern? Aren't these the things that he's supposed to be coming back to fix? He's supposed to be coming back to get rid of the false beliefs and all of these false teachings and all. Isn't that what I'm doing? And am I not being persecuted for doing it? I'm doing the work. Okay, so we're gonna end this right here. I'm editing this in because I left this map to show you the Dark Ages, the Renaissance, the King James timeline, because all of this led to this, the colonization of the world. And they're getting ready to go at it again, but they're getting ready to go at it now on a level of technology. So this end of this world that they're talking about, is coming not as the end of the existence of the world. It's coming as the end of the existence of the world as you knew it. You're going to mash it up. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this in and we're gonna get right back in it. Okay, so here we are, 800 years later. 800 years later, under the same control that was given to us to destroy us. If you want to believe that the same people that enslaved you, oppressed you, beat you, whipped you, raped the men in front of their wives and their children, gave you a God that's going to save you from them, please go get some help. If anybody outside of talking about Jesus Christ were to do the things that we've been doing, say the things we've been saying, jumping and shouting and acting crazy, a psychiatrist would give you some medicine. I even put you in a padded room. So don't let fear control you like that. They had to keep us inside this circle. And you don't need to know anything outside this circle. Okay, well listen, that's a lie. Okay, there is more outside the circle than inside the circle. It's more important than what's in the circle, because everything in the circle they gave us. This is all you need to know. You don't need to understand it. All you need to do is believe. God didn't make me to be a believer all my life. And I'm proud to say. See, this circle also represents something else. Look up the third dimension. And the third dimension is the dimension of our consciousness that is controlled by fear. Fear is the dominant factor in the third dimension. Religion strives, lives, prospers, and explodes only in the third dimension. Because as long as they can keep you here believing that the only thing you need to know is what they gave you, and you don't need to understand it, you just need to believe it, you're under a spell. Colonialism, Hellenism, imperialism, religion, and all of the things that aren't working for you, they're working for the emperor to keep his what? Empire. Okay, gotta think. Would you rather think or believe? You can't believe something and know it at the same time. If you know it, you don't need to believe it. And if you believe it, it's because you don't know it. Those two things can't exist in the same space. And we have been trained, well trained, to just say, oh, I'm good enough, I believe it. Man, you wouldn't believe anything else. You would do your due diligence to prove it. You wouldn't believe your contractor built your house on his word. You have a county inspector or a city inspector to come in there and inspect that house that is built to the drawing. You wouldn't buy a car that the only thing the manufacturer say, man, just believe. Man, just believe, man. It's going to be fine. You wouldn't do it. Okay? So we have to stop thinking that when we go inside a church or when we pick up a Bible, that we don't think about it. Just believe it. All you need to know is this. You don't need to know those things over there that you got questions about. No. That's too much for you because you can't understand God. They're selling you a lie for 10% because they've been trained. And a lot of these pastors, man, I feel sorry for them because that's all they know. That's the only thing they have to feed their family. Well, what am I going to do now that I know the truth? Oh, Lord, I got to pay for this car. I got to pay for my house. I mean, it's a terrible position to be in. So this has to be dealt with, and a way has to be found. They don't have to suffer. Because as long as they don't have a choice, they're going to choose to preach that lie so that they can eat. It's a tough spot. I'm not in that spot. I can't tell you what I would do if I was dependent on religion to pay my bills. But it was never supposed to be. Religion was never supposed to be for the for the preachers, the bishops to prosper. Okay? If they had kept it in the contact of Jesus Christ, they'd be walking in sandals on a donkey. Okay? All of this, what is it? What's it called? Destiny. That God wants me to have all of these things. No, he doesn't. Your greed wants you to have all of those things. Okay, so we got to keep it real. As long as they can control what we are exposed to, and they only expose us to what's inside this third dimension, and this, the circumference of third dimension, they control everything that we think and believe, which means that they already know when it comes to us making a decision, what that decision is going to be. It's not going to be a decision in your best interest because we've been Europeanized. We're not Africans anymore. We're Afropeans. When we make a thought and have to make a decision, our decision will be in the best interest for the system and the empire and the emperor. They know that. But once you realize, man, It is a whole lot more outside of this third dimension and this circumference of the realm of my understanding and the limitations that has on me. As soon as we realize that, and we step out of the third dimension into the fourth dimension, that's when we say, man, I'm tired of you telling me I don't need to know this. I want to know. Okay? I don't want to just believe it. You can't get an A in any class believing. That test is to show that you know. Okay? You have to do this the same way. Well, I can't tell you what to do. I do it the same way. I look at it comprehensively, just like if it was an engineering document for NASA for a $1 billion spacecraft that I had to sign my name on, saying it's ready to fly. Now, if I have the authority to do that on my job, I have that same authority to do it with the Bible when it comes to my faith, when it comes to what I believe, what I know, and what I'm going to pay you for to stand up in a pulpit and tell me he's on his way back. Well, that's the same thing they were saying 2,025 years ago. If you don't believe me, go to Matthew chapter 10 and read verses 5 through 8. And Jesus told the disciples, listen, we don't have enough time. I want you to go straight to the house of Israel. Don't go by the way of the Gentiles. Go straight to them. Why did he tell them don't go to them? Because he says, I want you to preach all the way unto the house of Israel, telling everybody on the way, get ready. The kingdom of heaven is near. The kingdom of heaven is nigh. So if he was telling the disciples to tell everybody that on the street 2,025 years ago, what makes you think that Jesus hasn't already come and gone? Because if the Bible is historical and true to its word, Jesus has come and gone. I got good news and I got bad news for you. If the Bible is historical, Jesus left you. That's the bad news. The good news is the Bible is not historical. Jesus didn't leave you because Jesus never existed. Okay, look at it like this. And I'm going to end this, okay? If you do your hands like this, your arms like this, that's a cross. And if you're standing, the only thing that's missing is the piece of wood, the vertical and the horizontal pieces. Okay, you remember I told you that these two eyes, these two visual eyes that only look out, they never look in, most of the things that they see are illusions. They're lies. They're thieves. Okay? So now here you have the cross. Luke 17 verses 21 and 22 tells you the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, his abode, are within you. So Jesus is in you. He's in here. Heaven is in here. It's not out there. That's the trick. They're tricking you to see, looking for with these. But Luke 17 verse 21 and 22 tells you that heaven won't be an observation. These are your observation eyes. They're the ones that get you in trouble. So here, if you look at your body and do your arms like this, your body is a cross. Right here in the middle is Jesus Christ on the cross. In between the two thieves, the two lying eyes that deceive you, and they steal from you. They steal your knowledge. They steal your ability to be rational and reason, because you believe what you see. You believe what you hear. You need to turn off your eyes and turn off your ears. Okay? And the resurrection of Jesus Christ has to be in you. It's you. Okay? So we have to wake up from this and we have to accept the fact that we've been hoodwinked and bamboozled. And if you're my age, you know, it's past me. But I don't teach this to my children because when I go on, I don't want to have a spiritual experience through their existence that I didn't stop it. Because what they're getting ready to do is going to be on that level of what they've always done. A lion and a tiger and a leopard, they don't change their spots. A hyena, a cheetah, they don't change their spots. And to expect that these people, especially what they're showing you in this presidential administration, who expect that these people have changed and now they're going to do something for you. They're telling you right in your face, we don't care about you. We're going to fire 80,000 out of the Veterans Affairs today. Now, that's who you're going to make your mistake with the veterans that have served, that have gone to war for this country, that have lost limbs, that are on 100% disability like me. And you're going to fire me? All of us, 80,000 in the Veteran Affairs alone, you fired us? And we have been loyal to you? And we had an agreement with you that you were going to take care of us for the rest of our life. And you're going to go after my job, my benefits. Man, listen. You're getting ready to see something that's never been seen. And this is what they want. They want a civil war. They want an internal war. Don't mess with the veterans. Listen. People that have been to combat, people that have laid their life down for this country, and you got a president that's in the office with Elon Musk that is treating veterans like trash. Man, that's a mistake. Okay, so I'm going to say Ashe. Have a great day. I have about 3 or 4 new videos that I'm ready to make, but I don't want to do them, the presentations, until I get my new mic. So stand by, all right? Please subscribe, like, and share, and I'll see you soon later this week. I needed to come back and show you this. This is one thing I didn't point out, that when I went back and edited the film and loaded it on YouTube and watched it, I didn't point out. This is from the Renaissance. We were looking at from the Dark Ages to light. The Renaissance begins. Okay, humanism is telling you when the Renaissance started, and it started what? Look at this is part of Hellenization, when they're turning everything Greek. Look at these 2 men. And what does he have his arms around over here? Children. Okay, so this is when the Greek practice of homosexuality and all of these things really took off. Okay, when you look up the real original definition of the 3 types of what the Greek definition of love is. You have agape love, you have philia something love, brotherly love, and I think I'm gonna do it on the next presentation when I conclude this. Well, the next presentation I do, I'll show you this. But one of these, I think it's agape love, or whichever one. It is the love between a man and young boys and children. And that's what over here on the right is showing. In the picture of the 2 men, one naked, you see his penis out here. You have 2 men. It's just sick. I want you to see that this behavior started. It didn't start during the Renaissance period, but it was being more commonly spread around the world through the Renaissance period. Colonialism. If you look up when and where did homosexuality start, you'll find that it started with the Romans and the Greek, and through colonialism and colonizing, it spread around the world, everywhere that they colonized. And I showed you the map that everywhere was colonized except Japan, Korea, and Thailand. Okay, I've shown you that part of the process in the Willingness Letter and in colonization was buckbreaking, where they raped the men in front of their wives and their children, and then forced the men to have anal sex with each other in front of their wives and their children. So I just wanted to come back and tell you to look at these pictures. This is not African. This has nothing to do with our culture, and we don't want any part of it. Okay? Ashe. Have a great day.